Let's add our hammers and fix few issues related to our tools to the game. Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. As you notice, we had few to-dos inside our mod tool materials and mod items related to our tools. One was that we wanted to develop a tier above netherite. For this, we had to use tags, and at the time, I didn't develop the tags, so I had this to do and I totally forgot about it in future. Today we will do that. Also, we had these hammer tools. For developing them, we had to use events and we didn't know about events, so we left them untouched until now. Also, I found a problem about our enderite sword. Now let's show you the problem with enderite sword because it's easy to fix but a little bit hard to understand, and then we'll move forward. As Minecraft is coming up, don't forget you can donate any amount of cryptocurrency that you like. The link is in the description. Okay, let's go into our board and let's take a copy of each of our swords. So citrine, copper, enderite, ruby, sapphire. Now, if I want to equip them, take note, citrine is equipped, copper is equipped, ruby is equipped, sapphire is equipped. However, enderite, if you take a look at our right-hand side on the monitor, you don't see enderite sword showing up. Also, if you look, citrine is being equipped relatively fast, but ruby is slow, sapphire is slow. It took me a little bit of thinking, digging, and tweaking to finally find what was the problem. If we come into enderite tools, we see that for enderite sword, I'm using attack speed of negative 4.5. What is this attack speed and what is the default value? The default value is 4 plus 4, positive 4. And we use negative number to reduce from the equipping and using speed. Basically, the more this number goes into the negative direction, the slower our tool will be. So the biggest number that we can use here is negative 3.999 something. It shouldn't be 4 because negative 4 plus the default positive 4, the result will be 0. 0 and any number below 0 means that the item is not equipable. So the item will not be equipped. And that was something that I overlooked when I was writing the code, thinking that, okay, this number is helping us, making our tool more aggressive and faster. So if we want more aggressive and faster tool, we should use positive numbers. So for swords, I will come and for citrine, I will change it to positive 1.0 or maybe minus 0.5, and I will use the same numbers for ruby and sapphire. So for ruby, that's armor. For ruby, we are using negative 3, so 0.5. For sapphire, we use negative 0.5. Now, instead of running the game and seeing the difference, I will run in debug mode because then I can utilize this plugin called single swap, and it's doing a hot swap, meaning that if I don't add any method or any new parameters and all the change that I'm doing is just tweaking a number like this 1.0 and I want to see the effect, I can just run the game in debug mode, and each time I hit this hot swap key, it will compile only this single class, and without changing the structure of the class, it knows exactly where the parameters were changed and it will be reflected in the game. Meaning that if you are, for example, drawing something and you are just playing with numbers, or in this case, we are playing with a number for attack speed, we can see the difference without needing to close Minecraft and reopening it. So I will wait until Minecraft comes up and we will continue. By the way, if at any time you saw this SSL error during the runtime, it's irrelevant. It's just, the development environment can't identify you on the remote server as a player, as a registered player, and identify you. That's okay. It happens lots of time, so don't pay attention to that. Okay, going back into the game. Here we go. You stay there. And now we see that Ruby and Sapphire are actually equipped much faster compared to before. And if I use them, they are really fast. And then the right. Wow, that's almost identical. However, if I want to now, I can play with this number. For example, I will increase it a lot and I will hit this hot swap, letting the hot swap do its thing. Going back into the game, now we see that it said compiled while one classes in milliseconds, one class reloaded. That means that now we have this class reloaded, and honestly, I don't see any difference in the equipping speed and not in the hitting speed. Actually, if you look at the cooldown bar in the middle of the screen, and the right is a little bit faster. So this is Sapphire, 1000, almost half a second. However, the Enderite sword, it's almost like instance, you know? Okay, so that was the first problem here. We fixed that Enderite problem. And I removed the to do, but it's still showing it here. Okay, now we have this tier above netherite. This is really easy. This is really easy. All we have to do is to come into our reference, finding our tags section, and under item, actually under block, we need to add a tag here. And the tag key, I will duplicate this one. It's net Minecraft block, and we call it incorrect for Enderite tool. Now, should this be a common tag or our tag? Because Enderite is an ingot from my mod, it can't be a common tag. So create tag, and the tag should be, by the way, if you saw this code completion and you were wondering what is causing this hint or code completion IntelliSense, it's a plugin that I found and it's really fast. It's really good. So if you come to settings and come to plugins, this Fitten, if you search in the marketplace with Fitten code is the IntelliSense that I'm using right now as the code compilation AI. However, remember, like any other code compilation, being it Colab or Fitten or Codium, they are smart, but not smart enough. Comparing these three to each other, actually Fitten is much faster and smarter, even compared to Colab, and it's free. However, you should keep in mind that you shouldn't be dependent to these code compilation AIs, because as you will see in the episodes from now on, sometimes I hit this tab and then I have to come back and fix sections of the suggestion because it was smart enough to see the context and understand that I want to convert this to lowercase because I had done it in previous lines, but sometimes it is not smart enough to fix the whole thing. You may need to come and tweak things here and there, but long story short, it's doing a decent job. It's especially good when you are forgetting something. For example, you want to register an item and you forget that, hey, what should I put here or there? And the suggestion may hint what you need to do. Most of the time, people keep the plugin active, but they don't use the tab key. They just read the suggestion, start typing what it was suggested until the point that they need to change things. And they are just using it as a hint and a guideline to code faster. Okay, that being said, this was incorrect for Enderite tool. Okay, now that we have this tag, all we need to do is to come back inside our datagen for block tags, because remember it's under block. So mod block tag provider, and here we will just add one thing, get or create tag builder. And as you see, the suggestion is not really what we need because it says modblocks.orc wood. Well, I don't have anything like orc wood. I don't know where it is getting it. If I say create now there we go, tag builder, and it says is fairness. Well, we don't need is fairness. All we want to say is incorrect for and the right. Okay, so now we added incorrect for and the right tool as a tag in our tag builder. However, we are not using it yet. Okay, now that we have this tag, I just copy it. And this is the interesting thing and nice thing about having to-dos. I don't need to go and find my class. I just click on this to-do in the to-do list, and it will open the class and jump to the place that I want to use it. Now, if you recall, we had this block tags incorrect for netherite tool, and now we just remove all of that and we use incorrect for netherite tool. It imports a static reference, and now we have a tool that is one tier above netherite, and that is our netherite. And that was a really simple move, but I totally forgot to do that because, well, when the project goes forward, sometimes you forget things, and it's a good habit to have these to-do tasks inside your code so that every now and then you come and visit your to-do list and you see, for example, in the block, I have to use mixin later down for the elevator or for the items. I have to use my custom data type. Well, we will talk about it when we talk about codecs. And here we have to add our own effects. Now this will happen very soon. Okay, in this video, we want to fix our hammer problem. Now, hammer is basically a pickaxe that will dig 3 by 3, 5 by 5, or anything like that. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we are hitting this middle block and we are breaking it, but the hammer will go and break all these 9 blocks for us. Or in another case, it can be 5 by 5. And you are again hitting this single middle block, breaking that one. And the whole 5 by 5 block will drop. Or it can be 5 by 5 with 2 blocks depth or 5 blocks depth, as many number of blocks as you want. And this is the concept behind hammers. Also, we have similar thing for shovels, and I forgot the name, but the concept is the same. So it's a tool that will dig in a radius around the central block, but it's just digging dirt. So in another video, maybe between the episodes, I don't know, I will add that tool, but the concept is the same. Instead of using a pickaxe as the base, you will use a shovel as the base. So let's dive into the class and make it happen. So our hammer item is a class that extends not the item, as you saw the suggestion is wrong here, but it will be mining tool item, okay? And of course, we need to create the constructor matching super. However, now it says tag key block effective blocks. We remove that part because here we can directly assign the things that we want to break, and that is block tags dot pickaxe mineable. Now we effectively made this tool behave like a pickaxe. Okay, now we want to add a static method that we will call later, and this static method should return a list of things that should be broken. We can do it in different ways. I think that having these private integers on top will help. So we have a private int depth, private int radius, and in the constructor, after asking for material and before asking for settings, we go with int depth and int radius. Thank you. And after the super call, we say this dot depth equals to depth, this dot radius equals to radius. All we want to do now is saying public static that returns a list. Now this list can be two different things. Either it can be blocks or it can be block poses. Now let's see, how do I want to do this? I think if we go with block, we are making things over complicated. So instead, I will go with block pose. So block pose, and we call it get area blocks. Now get area blocks, it takes a block pose of initial pause and server player entity as player. And the rest of the suggestions can go to help. Okay, so first things first, we need a list of block pause blocks, not blocks. As you see, the suggestions is terrible. I shouldn't use tab. So we say positions or pause or whatever equals to new, and we don't make this initializer like this. Okay, array list. And at the end of everything, we will return the positions. Now, between these two, we have to make some loops and collect the positions that we should break. Let's go into the game and see what is the scenarios that we are encountering with. Okay, let's say that I have a hammer in hand and I want to break this central block. And for a reason, I decided that this special hammer should dig a 5 by 5 by 3 blocks. Now, in previous video, we talked about direction and what direction is positive, what direction is negative, and the relative left and right position. Thankfully, we are not looking at a block. We are looking at a player. So we are facing north in this example right now. So we are looking at negative z. Of course, if I want to go, I should go from negative x to positive x, negative y to positive y, and then from positive z toward negative z. Means that if I want to, I can use west to, up to, east to, down to, up to, and finally from the same north toward north 2. Or maybe another loop can be the block position x minus 2 up to block position x plus 2. The block position y minus 2 to block position y plus 2. And block position z to block position z minus 2. This loop will give us all the blocks in this cubic shape. However, that was the north direction. If I switch, things will change because this will be our central block. So now I should go in the positive z toward negative z. So the block pose plus 2 on z up to block pose z minus 2. Or in other words, now we go backwards from minus 2 to plus 2 on z and y, and then for x, as you see, we should go on the negative direction. So we go with negative and we move forward. You will see that in code, so don't worry if it's looking a little bit confusing. However, you should be aware that based on the direction that we are looking, the situation changes, okay? Now, here's another question. How should I find where I'm looking at? That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? You see that cross in the middle of the screen? This is exactly at the eye level of the player. So if I rotate the camera, you see that it's at the eye level of the player. Now here's the thing. If we somehow find a line that goes from the eye level of the player forward, we can check if we are hitting any block or not. If we are hitting a block, now we can get different information from this block and we can use that. The process of going forward from a point in a direction until we hit somewhere is a physics call inside game engines, and that is called ray casting. Basically, we are casting a ray from a starting point infinitely in the future or in a special distance up to a special distance, and we check if we are hitting a block there or not. And that is the ray casting, if you didn't know what the ray cast is. So to find the block in front of ourselves, it's easy. We say hit result hit equals to player.raycast. And as you saw, the raycast is a physics engine thing. Now, this is the distance. How far do we want to go? I would say 8 blocks is enough. However, let's actually, this number defines the distance that we can break the blocks. And I don't think we can break any block 8 levels away from ourselves with pickaxe, so I will keep it like that. Tick delta means how many ticks we should put between the current tick and the tick that we want to cast the ray. And we use 0 means that we want to cast immediately. And finally, do we want to include fluids in our hitting result? No, we want solid blocks. Now we can check if hit.getType equals block, or in our case, we can negate it. So we say if hit is not a block, return position. We are not hitting any block. It's air or it's liquid, so we can't break it anyway. So why should we go into loops or anything else? Now, here we want to loop through X, Y, and Z directions based on the heading that we are looking at. We can do it in 2 different ways, and I have both of them on a second monitor, and this is one way of doing it. What we are doing here is we're switching based on the direction, and based on that direction we check if we are up or down, north or south, west or east, and then we find different starting and ending numbers as an offset. And finally, doing a crazy math, we find an iterator and we iterate through all the blocks and do things. This is a little bit complex. It's doable, but it's a little bit complex. So we keep things simple because simple is better in most cases, at least. Okay, we want to have the direction, but before the direction, we want the block that we are hitting. So we say block hit result, and we call it block equals to. We typecast, thanks to the IntelliSense, we typecast the hit to the block hit result. No, we don't need to get X and Y and Z, you stupid thing. Okay, now we say if block dot get side, this is the side of the block that is being assigned when it was set in the world, is direction dot down, or I hope it's, yep, smart enough to know that the opposite side is up. So if we are looking down or up, basically, because remember, this is the get side is not the facing of the block. It's the side that was hit by the raycast, because this is not a block, this is block hit result. So if you look at get side, it doesn't provide any Java doc for time being, and unfortunately, you don't know what it is assigned to. However, knowing that we are using a block hit result here, we know that the get side is the side of the raycast hit on the block, meaning that the side that is facing us. So if it's down or up, remember this is the opposite side of the player, by the way, and you will see it in a few minutes. So we say for int x equals to, no, we don't want to get this initial pose dot x, although we can do it here, but I will go from minus radius, and we want to make sure that we are smaller than radius. And why are you yelling at me? Oh, okay. You are right. Now the thing is that these two are not static, and here we are calling it from a static method. So it says make them static, and if it's a static, then here we say that qualify a static radius access with reference to class hammer item. Okay, that's it. But here is the problem. Here is the problem. We can't make them static. You may think that it's okay, but it's not, because any static property will behave the same on all the tools you have. So if I change one radius on, for example, a citrine hammer, immediately any other type of the hammer, for example, enderite hammer, will have the same numbers because it's a static parameter. So that's not the case, and I think the suggestion here was not bad to have a public int. You are not smart enough. Get depth and return depth. Okay, this is a necessity, and we will see why in a few minutes. And I can use this dot. And finally, public int radius. Yes, get radius, blah. So we had to do the encapsulation. I forgot. And here, after initial pose, we need int depth and radius. That will work now. Okay, after a little bit of back and forth, we need another thing, and that is the z direction here. And we need another for loop, but it's y direction here, okay? And we don't want to go from minus depth. No, we just want to go from 0 to depth. Okay, now we have to say positions dot add and take a look. It's smart enough to suggest that we should use initial pose.getX plus x, initial pose.getY plus y, and initial pose.getZ plus z. However, it's not smart enough to know that we are going in two different opposite directions, and if we are looking upward, we should add to the y, and if we are looking downward, we should reduce from y. So here we can say plus, and we put this y inside a pair of parentheses, and we use a ternary here. So I will break it into some lines, and here we say if the block dot get side is equals to down. Now, if the side is downward, means that we are looking upward because we hit the down side of the block. So we go in positive y. Otherwise, minus y, and that should work. Now, I will not continue the code on hammer item because if this logic is wrong, we need to know right here and right now before going and adding two more similar loops to loop through different things. Okay? Before that, we come back into mod items and I will change one hammer item and I will use this 3 by 3 by 2 for citron. Here we need to say that it's a new pickaxe again, so new. Instead of pickaxe item, we say hammer item and it uses materials citron. Now it is asking for the settings. However, if you notice, our hammer item is not using setting. It is using a depth and radius. And the depth is 1. Don't look at that 3. It's a 3 by 3 area. Means that we go 1 to the left, 1 to the right, 1 to the top, and 1 to the bottom. So this was radius, I hope. No, it was depth. So the depth is 2. Okay, 0 and 1. Yeah, we should reduce 1 from there. And 1 is the radius. And finally, we need to add these settings, and we will copy the pickaxe settings from here. Okay, will this work? We are lacking one parenthesis. And that's it. So basically, we are saying it's a pickaxe item setting with the material tool as citron, base attack damage of 1, attack speed of blah. If you want to, you can increase the damage of the hammer, but I don't like doing that because I want my hammers to just used for digging, and that should work. However, now we have to do things because right now we just defined a pickaxe that has 2 extra numbers. And what are you yelling at me now? Make them final? Yes, we can make them final. Always pay attention to these warnings. There is a good reason that they are there. Okay, now we go into mod events and we want our own new event. Up until now, in the event system, we did just add listeners to an event. However, this time we want to add our own custom listener, not just registering some logic to a listener. So here we say we want to have a Java class and we call it hammer usage listener. Now, hammer usage listener implements player block break events with plural dot. Now, instead of after that is suggested, we need before. We want to listen to the event before it's firing, not after it's firing. Now that we had that, we can implement methods, and that is before block break. And here we don't have item stack, but we have the player. So we want to get the stack. We say item stack equals to player that get main hand stack. Thank you. If stack dot get item instance of hammer item, and we want to name it hammer, and at the same time we want to check that the player is instance of server player entity, but instead of server player I will call it SP for short. If that's the case, at the end, instead of false, we return true. So we listened to this event anyway. Now, let's start simple. We want to get the radius and the depth. So we say int radius equals to hammer.getRadius, int depth equals to hammer.get depth. Now we say for block pause, we call it pause, inside the hammer item dot get area blocks. Remember, it was a static call. Now here we need to send in the pause, the radius, the depth, and the player as SP. When we got that, and by the way, we can't use pause because the local variable is called pause. We say position, okay, or pause one, whatever. Now that we have this for loop, we know that we got every block that we should break, okay? We say if, now the original pause equals to this position that we are working on, or not hammer dot is correct for drops inside with the stack, and word dot get block state position, but the rest is junk. Thank you. We continue. Now what did happen? This pause is the original position that we are breaking a block on it. Well, we are breaking that block anyway, so we don't need to handle it twice. Other than that, when we are looping through different positions, we want to make sure that the hammer can break that block. For example, if I have a stone hammer in my hand, I shouldn't be able to break the diamond ore. And here we are checking, okay, the new position belongs to a diamond ore and we can't break it. And the block state here is returning the diamond. If we can't, then just move forward to another position. Okay, then we say the player dot interaction manager dot try break the block at position. However, if I leave things right now, we will get a very nasty problem. If you watch the recursion in Java video, this is some sort of recursive call. Now, we are not recursively calling any method. However, when we are trying to break a block on a position, we are firing another instance of this player block break events before. And because we are a listener of this type, then we will listen to that event and we will loop through anything. And we are doing things repetitively, and in effect, we will break an infinite tunnel in a direction or in every direction. And that is not what we want. So somehow we should make sure that this recursive call of events will break at some point. The best way is that we should add our current position that we are working on into a list. And when we are entering here into this whole thing, before even reading the radius or depth, we should check if we handled that position before. So if the position that we are looping through is handled by our own listener before, then we should ignore the whole thing. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's do a little bit of schematic. So 1, 2, 3. No, that's a terrible thing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's say that we are breaking a 3 by 3 block. And we did break this central block. Now, our loop will start from here. Okay, we are not the same position. And the hammer is correct for breaking that position. Okay, we want to break this position. However, if we just say that, hey, break this position and do nothing else, in the next iteration, this plus position will behave as a new start position. So it will go another position up and start there, another position up and start there, and it will be like this. It will find another block here, it will break that block, and then it will fire another event. It will find another block here, it will break that, another event will be fired, it will break that, and so on and so forth. So the best way is to check if we already handled this position, then we shouldn't fire this try break block. Okay, we need to somehow track this new block pose between the instances of our listener. As we said, if we make any field static, it will be tracked between every instance. Okay, we can utilize that. So we need a private static final. We need to make something final, because if we don't make it final at any time that we make a new instance of the listener, it will be reinitialized as the default values and we'll lose the values there. However, here's the problem. What can we use here that can be assigned after being a final? We need something like harvested block, but this harvested block need a type. Now, what do we have as a Java type that we can assign a value after making it final? The only thing that we have are lists, hash maps, hash sets, and sets. So we can use a set of, and it's smart enough actually, block position, and we call it harvest block. And finally, we say it's new hash set. Because it is a hash set, at any time, we can, as you see it already indicating it, we can assign our position to this variable because it's behaving somewhat like a list, but don't worry, we will cover it in Java series. Basically, we can just assign a value to it, then fire another instance of the event. It will finish its things, and when we get to this line, we already have fired the new event and handled everything. So we can say harvested block dot remove the position. By the way, the credit for this logic of using set blocks goes to CuffH. And CuffH is a very old Forge mod, but the whole logic of using a block pose in a set and being able to assign it and then removing it before and after a new event initialization goes into CuffH. Okay, here's the problem. We add the position, we fire the event. Wait a minute. This will cause a new instance of our class and it will start the whole logic, but we are not using this harvested block anywhere to break out of it, to break out of the new instance of the listener. The best place is right here above radius and depth because it's really smart. Fitten is really smart. It knows that we have a set and it's already suggesting that we should look into the harvested block and we should check if the block that is firing the event is already added to that. Okay, if that's the case, we don't need to do anything, so we return true. And here we return true because we are a new listener ourselves. And this listener returning true means that we had done everything that we wanted to do and don't care about us anymore. Now this event is complete. It's just reading the blog post, getting the stack, checks if we should still handle this blog post. If that's the case, we get the radius and depth, we find a list of blocks, and we check if it's not the original block, And if we can break that block, then we add it to the handled list. We break the block. That will fire a new event. However, we had handled that situation right now. And after that, when the whole thing is done, we remove ourselves from the list, and that's the whole thing. Now that we have a listener, somewhere we need to register that listener. The best place is mod events, and inside the register, as you see, this time we were registering something inside another listener. However, now we want to register a new listener. You say player block break events dot before, but not the before lowercase. We want the uppercase, and this is a singleton, an instance of the before listener. And as you see, it says register, and here we simply say we have a new hammer usage listener. And that's it. Basically, we have registered our own listener into the game that will handle things. The only thing remaining is that now we should come back and make sure that the hammer item logic is correct and complete. So I will fire a new client. And remember, the only item that we handled right now is the citrine. And citrine should break 3 by 3 in 2 depth. And we already handled the up and down alone. Okay, we will take a look at that. Okay, I have two 5 by 5 by 5 blocks, and right now I'm using a debug mode and I had put a breakpoint. So if I break this block, I should fire the event. Remember, I'm looking downward, and we go into the event. Now you see that the get side, let's see what is the get side value right now. If I can find it, block. This is the block hit result, and side is up. That is exactly what I wanted to tell you. I'm looking downward, but the side is upward. Okay, now the side is upward. We know that we should go on minus y. Basically, we should go downward. So we will get a 3 by 3 area here and below itself, at least for 2 iterations. So now I hit the resum. Without the checkpoints, it should go all the way down, and you will see that it should dig down. And there we go. So as you saw, it goes 1, 2 blocks. And that was exactly what we wanted. A 3 by 3 by 2. So if I go and take a look at this one from bottom up, and I go out of the creative mode into the survival, and I break it, it goes 2, 3 by 3, and you notice that it broke the diamond because the citrine is a tier that can break diamonds. And that's it basically. That's the whole thing. Now the remaining logic here is to sit back and figure which direction is proper for the depth. Now we will get this whole thing from here to here, and we need another second loop. And this time we go from north and south direction. Now we remember that north and south is related to z direction. If you recall from the previous video, in our cheat sheet, you see that north is negative z direction. Z will become our depth. So this is z, this is z, this is z, and the height actually is y. So y, y, and y. This section needs to be different. We cut it. Y is here. X is correct. X is the left and right side. However, the depth now is z. And now we need to make sure that if we are going on the south direction, that is the positive z, if you recall. South is the positive z. So if we are going to the south, we want the positive z. Otherwise, it means that we are heading toward north, so we should go with minus z. But again, remember, we should flip it because this is the direction that we were looking at. So if we were looking at south, yes, we want to go in positive z. But the block is opposite to us, so we should go with north. So if the block is heading north, is looking toward north, means that we are looking at south. I know it's confusing. Just go back and watch the direction video multiple times. And this is the case. You will understand, especially if you go into the game and, just like before, using that mini hut and using breakpoints, you will understand that it is correct. And finally, the last thing is that when we look at east and south and west. Okay, east and west, we flip the position of X and Z because now we are looking in the direction of Z axis and left and right is actually the Z axis. So X is the depth, Z is our left and right. And again, we need to break this point from here to here. Here we go with Z, but X is the thing that needs to be changed. So X and X. Now, instead of confusing ourselves, just take a look. The north will negate what we have in the cheat sheet. So north was negative. Now we are using positive. Okay, here we say if we are looking at one of them, east. Actually, I will go with west because that's the similar situation. So west is negative x and we negate it and the other one is correct. So I say that this is complete. Let's go into the game one last time and take a look at that. The only thing remaining is that I should come back here into the mod items. Each time I see one of these add hammers, I have to put the proper radius and depth. And remember, radius and depth both are -1 from these. So basically, if I go with 3 by 3, the radius is 1. If I want 5 by 5, the radius is 2, and so on and so forth. And I have to come back and fix all of these hammers. For example, the end right one is 5 by 5 by 5, so radius is 2, but the depth will be 4, because for the depth we reduce 1 from this number, and basically that's it. Each one of these is the same thing, and we have lots of vanilla hammers here. And I have to fix these between the episodes. However, right now, I just want to make sure that the citrine hammer is correct. So I will go into a wall that is not flat. Also, I give myself a citrine hammer. We go down. But for the stone, it was correct. And we know this direction works. So how about this direction? It works because this was the first one. So 3 by 3 by 2. So again, I will mark this one. And I will break it from here. And you see that it broke 2 and 3 by 3, so that's correct. Again, the same deal, so I will break this guy and I will go 2, and that's again 3 by 3 by 2. One last few tests. This guy is correct, and this guy is again 3 by 3 by 2. And if I move forward and you see that it should break copper, although because I'm in creative, it's not dropping anything. So boom, it is dropping things. And if I want to break this guy, it should break a 3 by 3 by 2 here. Okay, all directions are correct. Now that I'm sure all directions are correct, my tool class is ready to be used, and all remaining is just your normal day as a mod developer to come back and fix all these to-dos and basically add hammers into the game. The easiest way is to just copy this whole thing, and as you go forward, remove these to-dos. I will do just one so that you see. I find the next one. I will remove these two, paste it, and now I just need to make sure that actually I forgot the comma. It should remain there. Now the remaining thing is that I should make sure that I'm using the proper tool materials and proper radius and depth. So this is 3, this is 1, that's radius of 2, that's okay. And this is the copper.
If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun, everyone. Bye.